Hey guys, what's going on? Madonna Hermes here with Hermes Law. I am so excited about today's topic and I can't wait to jump into it. But before we do that, I'm gonna ask you guys to subscribe to the page and to hit that little tiny bell button because that's gonna give you notices that I've posted a new video. So anytime I post a video, you'll get a notice. You're not gonna miss any of my stuff. So for today, we're gonna talk about, drumroll, the Mueller report. Now, to remind you, Robert Mueller was in charge of investigating two things. The first part of his assignment was to determine whether Trump campaign officials or agents cooperated or conspired with Russian agents to influence the election. And second, whether a number of actions by the president constituted obstruction of justice. Now, in case you guys have been living under a rock and haven't heard, Robert Mueller has concluded his investigation and submitted his report to the United States Attorney General, William Barr. And who is William Barr? William Barr is the United States Attorney General, the head of the Department of Justice, basically the top prosecutor of the United States, or in other words, the top dog. There are so many questions that I know we all have. What's in the report? What does it all mean? Did Trump commit a crime? Did his campaign officials commit a crime? And where do we go from here? So I'm gonna help you guys understand from a legal and unbiased perspective what in the holy heck is going on. So what does the report say? We don't know. I don't know what the report says because the report that Mueller issued was given to William Barr. And William Barr, with the help of his associates at the DOJ, then basically summarized Robert Mueller's report into a letter that he distributed to Congress and then to the public at large. So all we know is what William Barr has told us. Now, the fact that we're reading William Barr's letter and not Mueller's report is critical. Why, you may ask? Well, it's critical because we're seeing all of this through the lens of William Barr. William Barr, like you and I, is a person who has his likes and dislikes, long walks on the beach, a nice book, maybe a latte. No. I'm thinking caramel macchiato for that guy. But okay, put all that aside, he's got his own biases. So we've got to look at this with the understanding that we're not necessarily reading Robert Mueller's report, we're reading William Barr's interpretation of Bob Mueller's report. I'm saying this because you should analyze all information with a healthy dose of skepticism. Or you could just stop by here and I'll tell you what you need to know. Now, in William Barr's letter, he outlines two principal conclusions that Mueller makes. It's pretty good news for Trump. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, first let's delve into the collusion part of it, right? Whether or not Trump campaign officials conspired with, cooperated with, colluded with the Russian government. According to Robert Mueller, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired with or cooperated with Russian agents to interfere with the election. So that means they didn't collude with Russia? No. From a legal perspective, this does not mean that Trump campaign officials did not conspire with or coordinate with Russian agents. And I keep reading articles or seeing on the news people saying, no evidence was found, no evidence was found. And that's not what the letter states. If you recall, the letter stated that the investigation did not establish conspiracy or coordination. When you hear that a prosecutor was unable to establish a crime, it does not mean they had zero evidence. It means they didn't have enough evidence to charge somebody with a crime. And that's because in these great states of America, we have a requirement that if a prosecutor brings forth charges against somebody, they have to have probable cause to do so. In layman's terms, it basically means that a prosecutor has to prove that this person probably committed this crime. Having a hunch, having an inkling, having some pieces to the puzzle is just not enough to drag somebody through the criminal justice system. Here's your aha moment, people. So when you're analyzing what this means, it means that there may have been some evidence of a conspiracy or coordination or cooperation, but it wasn't enough to charge somebody. And this makes sense because we know for certain that there were some contacts with Russian agents made by Trump campaign officials, but there just wasn't enough evidence to charge. So the biggest takeaway here is not that there was zero evidence, it's that there wasn't enough evidence to charge. And I'm not saying that there was evidence. There may be zero evidence out there. But what I'm trying to point out is that's not what the report says. So all these people saying there's no evidence of collusion, no evidence of a conspiracy, no evidence of coordination, they don't know that for certain. Now that we understand the collusion part of it, let's put that aside and now let's move on to the second part of the inquiry, and that is whether Trump obstructed justice. Now here's where things get juicy. Or spicy, like my tacos. Now, if you recall, the obstruction of justice part relates to Trump firing Comey. Trump asking Comey to let go of his investigation of Michael Flynn. It involves his harassment of Jeff Sessions when he recused himself. It involves him dangling pardons for potential witnesses. All these things were wrapped up in the investigation into whether or not Trump obstructed justice. Interestingly enough, Mueller refused to make a recommendation as to whether Trump should be charged with obstruction of justice. And in fact, his report states, and I quote, "While this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him." Bum, bum, bum. Now, remember how just moments ago I said that Mueller couldn't recommend charges for collusion or conspiracy because he didn't have enough probable cause to recommend charges? So here, what I think Mueller is trying to say is, hey, William Barr, I think there may be enough probable cause here to charge Trump with obstruction of justice, but I'm gonna leave that up to you. Mind blown. Now, some might ask, Madonna, why is your mind blown? And I would respond, did you not just hear what I said? Because there's this report out there that may indicate that Trump committed a crime and that there's enough evidence to potentially charge him with a crime. But wait a minute. If he could have been charged with a crime, why isn't he? Funny you should ask. Now, the person who ultimately makes the decision as to whether or not Donald Trump is charged with a crime is none other than William Barr, the person who wrote this letter, the person who analyzed the Mueller report. He's the one that's in charge of determining whether or not Trump gets charged. But William Barr was appointed just less than a month ago, and he was appointed by Donald Trump. And William Barr is a staunch supporter of Donald Trump. Just last year, William Barr wrote a memo arguing that Robert Mueller ought not be permitted to investigate Trump for obstruction of justice. Sounds fishy. And you might be saying to yourself, wait, what? What? Huh? Who? What? He? Yeah. So you tell me, how is the person who argued against this investigation from the get-go, how can this person make a fair, nonpartisan decision as to whether or not this person committed a crime? Interesting. Hey, I'm not saying anything. I'm just giving you the facts, my friends. I know you guys are thinking, hey, that's a conflict of interest. That can't happen. Madonna, you are wrong. This cannot be so. And I say to you, friends, 'tis so. 'Tis so. This is what's going on. Now, it's important to note also that Bob Mueller's investigation spanned almost 2 years. And William Barr came to his conclusion within 48 hours of getting this report. And it begs the question, was this a hasty, partisan interpretation of the facts? We don't know. And, truthfully, we won't know, not until we get our hands on Robert Mueller's report. And, will we ever see that report? Again, we don't know either. And now that concludes the end of our video. I really hope you enjoyed. Make sure you hit that like button and of course subscribe for more weekly videos. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway was, so please make sure you let me know in the comment section below. And of course, any questions, concerns, comments, you can leave them right there too. And if you want to get a hold of me directly, my number is 248-825-8042, or you can reach me at www.hermeslaw.com. Thanks for watching.